रेनू मैम को बोल दो।
हाँ मैं बोल Professor Renu, are you there? Yeah, ma'am is there. Can we begin? Vanita ma'am, can we start?
Yeah, please start.
Okay, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, Renu ma'am.
Professor Renu, she's our Dr. Vanita Tudi. She's a convener, IQAC.
Good morning, very good morning.
So should we start, ma'am?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay,
Whenever.
great.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
Okay. Just give me a minute. I'm having some problem here. Just a minute now. Yeah.
Sir has also joined, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Okay. Good morning to all of you. I welcome you all to this day 4 session, first session of day 4 on am I audible? I think I can't see. Just a minute.
Yes.
You're audible, ma'am.
Perfect.
There's some problem. Okay, ma'am. I think there's some glitch.
Is there some problem, Mubin? Everything is fine.
मेरी
Get on.
तरफ वो image नहीं आ रही थी. Now I can see. Yeah.
Start.
Sorry for that. Good morning and namaskar and welcome all of you on this day 4 first session of 2-week interdisciplinary online refresher course, bilingual, on the topic, the quintessential educator challenges and opportunities in the changing world. I, on behalf of the IQAC, ARSD College, and our partner TLC Center, Ramanujan College, and on behalf of my IQAC convener, Dr. Vanita Tuli, and my honorable principal, Sir Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, and all the participants here, I welcome Professor Renu Nanda for this first session. Professor Renu Nanda is currently Professor of Education, and she's also the Dean Faculty of Education at the University of Jammu. Professor Nanda is joining us right from Jammu. She'll be speaking on a very interesting topic. The title of topic and her lecture is going to be Roadmap of Teacher Education for New India NEP 2020. Professor Renu, she dons various hats, and she very reluctantly gave me her bio, and when I just went through her bio, which I think is not an updated one, and I could see so many activities she's into. She's part of so many. She's an advisor to so many bodies, so many universities. She's consultant. There are innumerable number of awards that she has won. Professor Nanda has, just correct me if I'm wrong, Professor Nanda, just update me. You have almost 36 research papers already published, 12 books, book reviews, and Professor Nanda has participated and presented papers in 191 seminars, workshops, conferences in India and abroad. Professor Nanda's research experience is related to educational technology, primary education, higher education, gender, non-formal education, and governance. She has done various research projects with NIPA, UGC, SRC, JK, and 6 major research projects she has done with ICSSR, BSNG, NCERT, IUCTE. Professor Nanda has been a member and institutional memberships and academic membership of various bodies, various advisory boards. If I just mention few, she's life member of All India Association for Educational Research. She's a member of Intellect Based International Consortium. She's a life member of Comparative Education Society of India, JNU, New Delhi. She's been on various committees of sexual harassment, educational committees. She's been part of Relief and Reconstruction Committee also of Jammu University, library committees, Directorate of Libraries and Research, Government of J&K. She's also a life member of Northwest Indian Sociological Association. Professor Nanda has been awarded many titles and awards. She's been awarded the Women of Excellence honor by Christian Social Service Society, JNK. She's the Vice Patron Indian Red Cross Society conferred by Shri N.N. Vora Award. She's also National Values Award for promoting and inculcating values among rural, backward, and underprivileged children in the border villages of J&K. I'm sure, Professor Nanda, you would definitely share your experience, because I know you work on various projects that deal with our interiors of India. She's been an advisor and consultant also on many educational bodies and universities. She's been a satellite faculty of TQM, NUPA. She's also been a resource person with Viscomp, New Delhi. She's also been a member on the review board of J&K State Prisons, member also of Red Cross Committee. So Professor Nanda, I think this is a brief introduction that I gave of you, and without keeping myself in between, and there's a lot more that you've been doing, and you are engaged at present also. So I'm sure you would share this with our participants. We have participants from all over India, and that's the beauty of an online program, that people from all across can join and connect. And you yourself, you're joining from this beautiful state of Jammu and Kashmir, J&K. So I welcome you. Welcome, Professor Nanda. So yeah, welcome, Professor Nanda. So the stage is yours. We'll have a 1-hour lecture and then a question answer session. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to, greet everyone. My namaskar. I would like to thank the organizers of the Atmaram Sanatan Dharam College, your IQAC cell of the University of Delhi, the principal of the college, the convener of the IQAC, the faculty members of the colleges, the participants. We may have certain people from the academia, the researchers, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. And a very, very special thanks to dear Dr. Syed Mubin Zehra. I am very, very thankful to her for having given me this opportunity to be amidst all of you. I believe the right platform to be talking about teacher education, because you come from different parts of the country. And I belong to Jammu and Kashmir, the Jammu part of Jammu and Kashmir, which we say is the beautiful city of temples. That's how it's named. So thank you for making part of this wonderful program. And I'm sure I'll have a lot to take from this interaction this particular morning. As has been already said by Dr. Mubin, that I would be talking about the roadmap of the teacher education for New India, NEP 2020. We all know that, COVID-19, a pandemic which has very badly hit across the globe. And during that time, when we all got to hear, when we all got to know about the launch of NEP 2020, I think everybody started rejoicing. And we thought that something new, something different, which has been, tabled after many, many years. And while going through, I'm sure all of us have gone through this NEP 2020 document several times, maybe through seminars, discussions, different forums. And by now, most of us, have had almost a grip over the areas which are concerning us. since I mostly talk about teacher education, so my understanding about NEP 2020 is with regards to the higher education and teacher education. But here I would like to say that usually what happens is that when we talk about higher education and we talk about teacher education, we do not give any importance, or we give less importance to school education. So my belief here is that unless and until we take school education also on board, our understanding of these two, aspects would not be complete in themselves, because school education has to be fully on board. And that is why, when the committees were being formulated all over, I had one suggestion to make to everyone, including the people in NCTE, that please ensure that there is a connect between the teacher education and the school education. Then only teacher education can flourish, or can actually be in a position to realize the objectives or the targets which have been set for New India through its agendas, through the different aspects which have been revealed in the policy itself. Here, I would like to also share a quote by Mark Van Doren, and I quote, "The art of teaching is the art of assisting discovery," unquote. What happens is that when we talk about teacher education, we talk about education for that matter at any level. I think what NEP has tried to unfold and reveal is something which we all are already aware of, that while teaching, we have to ensure that we help the students, the children, to be in a position to discover, to create, to be in a position to come out with something which belongs to, their understanding, their reflections, their perceptions. What we try and do is that we try and write things on the clean slates with whatever comes to our mind, the way we perceive things, the way we look at things. I'm not generalizing, it's by and large, it's something which is moving in that particular direction. When I was thinking of the title, and I have purposely, written there the roadmap. Now, why did I think about the roadmap? Is basically with one sole objective, which is to unleash the creative and the innovative temper in every learner at every level. That too in a very congenial learning environment. I think that is something which is very important for all of us to understand. And with that, while we are onto the path of trying to understand NEP 2020, what is it that needs to be done immediately? You see, what we have to do is we have to first of all create an environment within ourselves. We here means the teachers, the teacher educators, the practitioners, the scholars. Now, what is it that we need to create in our own mindset, in our own understanding, is something which coincides with what was said by Rabindranath Tagore many, many years back. And I quote, "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free," unquote. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I have been myself participating, contributing, and trying to, bring people on board from the rural areas, from the tribal areas, all along the LOC. Very many people would not like to go there. And I tell you, every time that I interact with them, there is so much of learning from these children. The problem is that we want them to learn the definition of noun, or we want them to say 2 + 2 is 4. Why can't it be 5, 6, or something else? I'll just here, share a very small incident with you, which happened long time back in a particular village, wherein I was trying to play with small children, and these children work in the farms. And this is the name of the village, Abdulia, which is very famous for milk cake. And this is the last village. And after that, we have Sialkot border, the other side. We can see the other side of India as well, Pakistan. So while playing with these children, when I was trying to tell them about addition, about subtraction, I thought the best would be to take some, something from the that place itself. So there were small little branches. So I said, this is 2 and this is 2. Isn't it 4? Everybody said yes, but then there was one child who kept saying, no, it is not 4, it is 5. So I could have scolded that child. I could have said, nay, it is 4 only. But what I said is that, please explain me how it is 5. You will be amazed by the reply of this child. He said, ma'am, 2, 2. And it is me who's putting these 2 and 2 together. If I don't put them together, so they will be 2, 2 separate. So when I'm joining them, so it becomes 5. Now, I have a question for all of you. Dear participants, how are you going to convince this child? What kind of pedagogy do we have in our hand? What kind of mechanisms, how much of freedom do we have? That is why I quoted Rabindranath Tagore, that we need to understand these expressions and we have to take them on board. Then and then alone, we will be in a position to create a viable learning environment. Children are not wanting to come to schools. What is actually being offered in our educational institutions? I mean, all of us are aware of that. But then at the same time, somehow I have great hopes in this NEP 2020, because it's for the first time that we get to understand teacher education from a totally different perspective. But before that, let's try to, kind of just run through quickly the backdrop of teacher education. Teacher education, as we all know, has always been related to the development of teacher proficiency and competence to enable and to empower the teachers to meet the requirements of the profession and face the challenges. Teacher education includes the formal, the non-formal activities, along with experiences that help to qualify a person to assume the responsibilities of a member of the educational profession or to discharge the responsibilities more effectively. Now, if we were to say there are mathematical or say algebraical equations. So if we look at the concept of teacher education, I think I would like to say this, and all of you are more than welcome to give suggestions, to comment. They are more than welcome, because we are all from the same, I would say we are part of the same body, the same organization. It's just that today I'm here, but tomorrow you will be at my place and I'll be at the receiving end. Let's look at things, more practically. So I would say teacher education is equal to teaching skills plus pedagogical theory plus the professional skills. That is how I look at the concept of teacher education. Now, we know that the first commission in Free India was the University Education Commission in 1948, which critically scanned the existing courses in teacher training program and suggested that the courses must be flexible and adaptable to the local circumstances. I have a question. Please keep on pondering also, on the questions, because I am not going to bore you with the history. The whole purpose is to make it more interesting. It should be a dialogue. But where do you find, ladies and gentlemen, where do you look at the flexibility part of it or the adaptability part of it? Therefore, in this context, the commission recommended that the courses should be remodeled, suitable schools to be used for practical training, and more time to be given to school practice. In 1950, the first conference of the training colleges in India was held at Baroda to discuss the programs and the functions of the training colleges. It was for the first time that because of this University Education Commission, that the teacher training was given a new nomenclature and it became teacher education. That is how we get teacher education from teacher training. Then we had the Indian Education Commission. Now, here also, a keen interest was exhibited in teacher education. This commission observed that a sound program of professional education for teachers was essential for the qualitative improvement in education at all levels of teacher education to meet the requirements of the national system of education. Then, of course, we had the national policies on education. Now, the policies on education, especially the policy of 1986, said that teacher education is a continuous process and its pre-service and in-service components are inseparable. Now, this policy and the program of action thereafter made a strong case for improving the quality of teacher education, as it was a prerequisite to improve the quality of school education. We all know that. Now, further on, it was also stressed that there is a need to link in-service and pre-service teacher education program on a continuum. It visualized the establishment. This was the policy that visualized the establishment of the DIETs, the District Institutes of Education and Training all over the country in each district. It upgraded 250 colleges of education and made them as the Colleges of Teacher Education, CTEs, and also the establishment of 50 institutes of advanced studies in education called the IASCs, and strengthening of the state councils of educational research and training, the SCRTs. Now, with that, what happened was that there became a change in the role of a teacher. Now, we will say that this change in the role of a teacher, the position of a teacher, I would say, was basically on paper only. But the major shift came much later. And that was primarily because of certain teachers who made an effort to take that extra mile walk to ensure that, things get implemented, things get concretized the way these policies, the way these commissions have actually been wanting to. When we look at the 21st century, we say that the role of a teacher is now to be, doing the experiments, the learner as the initiator. Students have to ensure that they exercise their choices. They must construct the meanings. The learning has to be process and product oriented, technology enhanced learning. It has to be multimedia driven. There should be no limit. We have to share the knowledge with the global collaborators. Students have to be problem solvers with the teachers. It is more of an open system. So, actually the thing is that it's very good. It sounds very nice, when we talk on platforms like this, I'm talking today, we say it should be like that, it should be like this. But then after that, when these programs, these conferences, these discussions and debates get over, what happens at the grassroots level is that we leave everything that we, get to know from these platforms somewhere in our files or in our suitcases, in our cupboards. And when it comes to the actual conduct, making things actually happen at the grassroots level, it is there that you get to hear, that was something taught in the training. You see, why, Renu, you have to do it in the classroom? You don't have to do it. See, training has to be very good. We have to train. But my question right from the beginning has always been, why do you invest in the training when you do not want the pupil teachers to be doing that practically when they face the classroom situation? I will share my own experience with all of you here. I did my B.Ed, I did my M.Ed, and I did my MPhil and PhD. And I actually started my career from a school. That is why I'm so passionate about school education. 9.5 years I spent in the school from the year 1989 to that time. I was a student, of course, but I did work in a school till about 1997, and but continued to study. Now that's a different topic altogether because it will consume all the time, which we can talk another time. But I've had this, I've spent 9.5 years in the school. And after that, that was a time when I did my M.Ed and a higher education. I got into the university in the year 1997. While I was in the school, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I did not teach in the traditional, I wasn't teaching, I was the administrator to begin with. But I ensured that the teachers in this particular school would not, teach in the traditional manner. It was a Herculean task because teachers were very senior to me in age. This school where I started my career had, a chain of schools. So what they did was that they sent the best of the best and the most senior most teachers to assist me, to help me. The only advantage I had was that it was a huge piece of land, 22 acres of land, mango orchard, thousands of mango trees. And, we could do whatever we wanted. And that is what was the right platform for somebody like me. So the mornings would begin how? With nice, I would say patriotic songs, of course, of different communities, different religions. Prayer it was not mandatory to fold your hands and to close your eyes because children would still, try to, keep one eye open and keep one eye. So I said, you do whatever you want to do. There is no, I wouldn't say discipline. There's no rule to be followed in the morning assembly. After the morning assembly, every day, there used to be one class which would go only with me to walk in that 22 acres of land. So depending on the class, like class 1 would not walk so much. It would be a short walk of 10 minutes. And I had school up till middle school only, class 8. And class 8 would spend about half an hour, 40 minutes. After that, the classes would begin with art, yoga, taekwondo, music, dance, everything other than the English, Hindi, mathematics, science, that would come later. And you have to believe what I'm saying. I wish you could meet some of my students who've passed from that institution, because it was so much of fun. Children would, after this 1 hour, I would say, full of enthusiasm, be so energetic in the classrooms that the teachers would be tired in that 1 hour, because they would continue to gossip. I didn't know what to do with them, because for these activities, I had separate set of teachers as part-time teachers. So almost, I think once in 6 months, we would pack our bags and class-wise go for a 2-day trip, either to Patnitop, which is about 150 kilometers from here, or to Dalhousie. And then once a year, we would take long tours. Why am I sharing with you, all these things is that whatever I learned in my B.Ed and M.Ed, I wanted to practically see that it actually can be concretized on the ground level. Then class, just to give you another example, 6, 7, and 8. What is very confusing is the concept of photosynthesis. Teachers try very hard to explain to the children, and children have their own ways of, So I said, please don't teach in the classroom. You won't believe, teachers were very angry. Some of them would say that this madam is, I don't know from where has she come, and she dictates whatever. What I did was I created 4 spaces. Now, these were huge, big spaces. Say about in terms of, how do I put it? Huge piece of land. I can't tell you the dimensions. I'm bad at that. But these 4 were actually divided in class 5, had 1 piece of land, 6, 7, and 8. These children were asked to grow only their radish and carrots and experience everything themselves, rather than being taught about environment science in the class. That is only one example. Other than, there are so many things. I have done experiential learning. I've done innovation. I've done unleashing the creativity of the child. And if you ask me, every child is so creative, is so innovative. Unfortunately, we as teachers are not trained to tap that resource which is hidden in every child. And most of the parents also are not doing that, because the parents were always wanting, madam, the homework has to be given. Madam, this child must get this much percentage of marks in this subject, which is not important, believe me, at the school level. It can all come in, provided the child is a curious learner. The child exhibits the enthusiasm to be happily sitting in the class. And another thing, what is it that these teachers are trying to teach? I don't understand, when the basic concepts of, like, for example, we talk about arithmetic, numerical concepts. Children do not know counting, but here we are trying to teach them multiplication, division, and whatnot. They do not know ABC. They do not know simple, I would say, 3-letter words. And here we have in class 4 and 5, things like words like marvelous and wonderful and whatnot. Same is true with Hindi also. Class 3, there is a word called Mahatvapurna, just to give you one example. So I don't understand, what are we trying to do? Where the trainings go when these textbooks are designed? What actually happens? Why is it not being concretized at the grassroots level? So that was something I wanted to share. And now I was saying, that in the 21st century, the role of a teacher has changed. And it is expected to change even more with NEP 2020. When we look at the fluencies, what is it that we have is a solution fluency, information fluency, collaboration fluency, creativity fluency, and media fluency. And when we talk about the educational literacies, the emphasis is on assessment literacy, curriculum literacy, pedagogic literacy, emotional literacy, and learning literacy. There could be other things as well. Now, there are a lot of problems that we have in the teacher education system in the present times. These problems, have been there, I would say, right from the beginning. But most of us, besides understanding these problems, I don't think many of us have been able to contribute anything with regard to these issues and these problems. So, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, clear.
Yeah,
clear.
okay.
Yeah.
So now to list these problems, there is a complete disjoint between theory and practice. I have narrated the example. What we teach, we do not mean that the pupil teachers will actually go and do that, at the grassroots level. Then there is lack of subject knowledge among the teacher educators. I'm sure, like me, you also have students pursuing their MEd, especially in the university. We have MEd and MA education programs. And what amazes me most is that some of them even have a postgraduate degree, but they are not ready to teach simple arithmetic. If it's a MSc mathematics to a child in class 6 or 7, they are ready to teach at the the graduation level, undergraduation level. I think there is something wrong with our teaching pedagogy there. Then the issue is about practice teaching, which is neither adequate nor it is properly conducted. We know about it. Then there are faulty and old teaching methods. We still, though we talk about constructivism, but we are not implementing the same. Then there is lack of cooperation of the experimental schools. Government has always been emphasizing, NCT has been emphasizing on experimental schools, but then they have their own whims and fancies. There are facilities which are not existing at the grassroots level with regard to the professional development. Then insufficient demand and supply. Then there is something very unique about Jammu and Kashmir. I am sure it is in other parts of the country as well, because I have gone for inspections to Madhya Pradesh, to Maharashtra, to Goa, and a few more places. And I have seen that there is absenteeism on the part of pupil teachers and teacher educators. So how are we going to be, doing justice with this profession is something which we all need to think about. There is also lack of knowledge and skills to operate technology. We aren't techno-savvy. So on one hand, when we talk about COVID-19, the pandemic, but I think this pandemic has made everyone techno-savvy. The children in the rural areas, I tell you, it gives me so much of happiness because every Sunday I do a class with the rural children. This is an online class. Initially, I was doing this class in the university. Now it's an online because we cannot have a face-to-face class. When I see them operating, it gives me so much of happiness that they become techno-friendly. And they are in a position to exhibit more of their hidden talents, which otherwise they were not doing on face-to-face, in the face-to-face mode. There is also a problem of selection at the time of admission. Then we do not have sufficient financial grants. One big problem is lack of political will. Why do I say that? Is because, say about 10 years back, 15 years back, Jammu and Kashmir and Himachal Pradesh, I think they had almost the same literacy rates. The topography is the same. The geographical condition is the same. There are a lot of similarities. But ladies and gentlemen, I have a question here. What is it that motivated Himachal Pradesh to go far ahead of Jammu and Kashmir? Himachal Pradesh 15 years back was one of the educational backward states, and today it has, I think, achieved almost everything with regard to education, technology, implementation of the projects, and whatnot. But look at Jammu and Kashmir. There are other states as well which are educationally backward. I'm giving this example because I belong to this particular area. Is the lack of political will. But now, maybe through this policy and through more reforms, we will be in a position to bring that change. So it's very important to have the political will. There are regional imbalances. The curriculum certainly is outdated. What was shocking to me was when I started teaching in the university, this was in the year 1997. And I had done my MEd in the year 1987. Now, the curriculum which I studied in MEd was the same when I was given the MEd class to teach. Nothing had changed, ladies and gentlemen. So, where are we moving? Which way are we heading? I don't understand. And then we make very tall claims. So then there are infrastructural constraints, the short duration of the teacher training programs. And of course, sometimes, not always, we do have problems with the academic background of the student teachers as well, which of course can be addressed. Now I come to the National Education Policy 2020. And this policy, like I said in the beginning, is something which brings in a lot of hope. Teachers must be grounded in Indian values, languages, knowledge, ethos, and traditions, including the tribal traditions, while also being well versed in the latest advances in education and pedagogy. This was something I'm sure all of you, all participants, everybody who's connected will totally agree with me. We were doing this in our old system of education, the ancient system of education, which was there in the pre-Vedic times, the Vedic, the post-Vedic times, the Brahminic times. We had a very rich system of education in the country, which had a wonderful blend of the values, of the traditions, of the customs with the new advances. That is why we had a lot of international scholars coming to India and studying here. NEP 2020 also says to restore the prestige of the teaching profession, the regulatory system shall be empowered to take stringent action against substandard and dysfunctional teacher education institutions that do not meet the basic educational criteria after giving 1 year for remedy of the breaches. So by 2030, only educationally sound, multidisciplinary and integrated teacher education programs shall be in force. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, 9 years to go. We have to see, we have to keep a watch, but please ensure that each one of us contributes. The policy is there, but who has to own the policy? There were policies in the earlier times, but we would always say that this is the policy by this government, this policy by this government. And naming the governments and the political parties, what would happen is that the larger public, the people, the students, the society gets impacted. So why cannot we get out of this and think for our nation, come to the forefront as teachers, as scholars, as somebody who wants to contribute substantially and significantly for the development of our nation? We have to own this policy. There is no other way out. The only way that we can contribute is by adopting this policy in letter and spirit. And we have to do a very small and humble beginning. I'm not saying that we have to implement in toto everything. Whatever is possible within the resources, the limitations that we have. But we are all waiting like this, that there's somebody is going to ring the bell, somebody is going to make an announcement that we have to now implement. That's my, always has been my worry. Why are we waiting, and we are waiting for whom to tell us? It has been launched. So we have to receive and we have to implement it. NEP also says all teacher education programs must be conducted within the composite multidisciplinary institutions. All multidisciplinary universities and colleges will aim to establish education departments, which will also run the B.Ed programs in collaboration with other departments like psychology, philosophy, sociology, neurosciences, Indian languages, arts, music, history, literature, physical education, sciences, and mathematics. Why do we talk about this in isolation? You will agree with me that we have these teacher education institutions, which are standalone institutions. So what they have is, what amazes me most, in fact, it was initially a shock to me, then you get used to these shocks. That when for the first time after, getting the job in the university in 1997, I think after 2 years, I had gone to inspect a B.Ed college, and they said, we have teaching of Urdu, but we have no teacher to teach Urdu. So how do children learn Urdu? How do students learn Urdu? It's because they go Maulvi ji. There is some Maulvi ji who is giving time to these children. Now, this Maulvi ji is okay, but here we are preparing these teachers for what? So, that we have compromises to that extent when we talk about teacher education. So if these would be multidisciplinary, we will have everything on board within the university or within the complexes, so that there are no hassles and there are no problems. I think another welcome step in this policy is about the 4-year integrated B.Ed program, which was earlier also, like Delhi University has this B.Ed program, a 4-year integrated program. Now, with this, I think it will be open to the whole country, offered by these multidisciplinary higher education institutions. And it is expected that by 2030, it will become the minimal degree qualification for the school teachers, which I think is a well accepted fact. Should be like that. The 4-year integrated B.Ed will be a dual major holistic bachelor's degree in education, as well as a specialized subject such as a language, history, music, and the other subjects. Beyond the teaching of cutting-edge pedagogy, the teacher education will include grounding in sociology, history, science, psychology, all these subjects, and many more. Higher education institutions offering the 4-year integrated B.Ed can also run a 2-year B.Ed program for those students who have already received a bachelor's degree in a specialized subject. A 1-year B.Ed degree may also be offered for candidates who received a 4-year undergraduate degree in a specialized subject. Now, scholarships for meritorious students will be established for the purpose of attracting outstanding candidates for all the 3 programs, 4-year, 2-year, and 1-year B.Ed program. I would here also like to share that the 1-year B.Ed program, NCT has made committees for all these, 2-year B.Ed program, 1-year, and the 4-year B.Ed programs. Apart from the committee on physical education and the visual and performing arts education. In my university, in the year 2015, when we had a 2-year B.Ed program, would you believe there was nothing called as teaching of visual and performing arts and teaching of physical education. Teaching of physical education was there as a subject. So was visual and performing arts, but not the teaching. So what happened was, since, I could say something, I had my say, and I knew that it will be accepted. So I included that. Now, you see, the problems that you face when you try to bring in these changes, the entire board said, who's going to prepare the syllabus? Who is going to work with the nitty-gritties? I volunteered. So I went to the Institute of Music and Fine Arts, similarly the physical education institutions, and then we were able to create something. And this is now an open secret. I'm sharing it with you. So from 2015 till 2020, I'm the only one who's setting the question papers for both these subjects. Nobody is interested. And imagine, people graduating from the Institute of Music and Fine Arts, they do a 3-year undergraduate program. So if these students can do a 2-year degree, a 2-year B.Ed program, so they can, be teacher educators there. Same is the case with those who are pursuing their B.Ped and M.Ped programs. Now, the problem is that somebody has, like I said, if you have to do something, you have to take the initiative. So before this, I was also sharing with you that NCT has made the committees. And in the 1-year committee, I am one of the members. And we've had a few, rounds of discussions. And surprisingly, most of the people were saying that, it will be very difficult. How will we convert once again the 2-year into 1 year? You don't have to convert, actually. You have to create. But how will we do it? Then there is a 4-year. But, my take on this is that we all have done. I'm sure most of the participants like me have done a 1-year B.Ed program. So where were the flaws? What was wrong with that 1-year degree program, B.Ed program? So what we have to do is, the only thing is that we have to now update it. We have to see that it suits the requirements of the present time. Because this is not, I did my B.Ed in 1983. This is not 1983. So we have to see what is it that we can include, in the present program. Now, moving ahead, higher education institutions offering the teacher education programs will ensure the availability of a range of experts in education and related disciplines, as well as specialized subjects. Each higher education institution will have a network of government and private schools to work closely with, where potential teachers will student teach along with their participation in other activities such as the community service, adult and vocational education. This is exactly something which I said in the beginning, if you remember, that there has to be a close connect, a kind of, I would say, some MOU, some understanding between the higher education and the school education. See, what happens is when it comes to internship, even at the undergraduate and the postgraduate programs. Nowadays, because of the choice-based credit system, we all have sessional works, we have internships, not only in the teacher education programs, but other programs also. But for internships, where do we go? We are stranded. We have to go back to the schools. So why cannot we take the school education system on board? right from the beginning, make them, members in our board of studies, have their say, so that, we move together. And then the students who are pursuing their programs with regard to the teacher education programs or the other PG programs, whoever have to go for internship in the schools at different levels, can do so happily, willingly, and they would be received very well. Initially, what happens is that we use our own tactics. I know somebody else may be knowing somebody else, but then the larger chunk of the teacher trainees do have a problem. They do not have an experimental school. Most of the colleges do not have that. Now, to maintain the uniform standards for teacher education, admission to the pre-service teacher education, teacher preparation programs shall be through the suitable subject, and aptitude tests to be conducted by the National Testing Agency, which I think is a welcome step when we talk about teacher education. In fact, I would go to the extent of saying that, like we have exams for the other like, for example, we have this for the Indian Administrative Services, Indian Economic Service. So why cannot we have the Indian Education Service as well? If teaching is looked at, why looked at? It is a profession. So why is not being given that professional recognition by the bodies, by ensuring that we have a very stringent board that ensures that we have the best of the best brains, somebody who has the curiosity, the enthusiasm, the abilities to learn, and to be in a position to ensure that these are executed at the grassroots level as well. Now, faculty with training in the areas of social sciences that are directly relevant to school education. What are these? Like psychology, child development, linguistics, sociology, philosophy, economics, political science, and then there is also science education, mathematics education, social science education, and language education programs. They need to be attracted and retained in the teacher education institutions to strengthen multidisciplinary education of the teachers. Very important, we are missing out on these points. None of the earlier education policies or commissions suggested something in this regard, as has been suggested in NEP 2020. We have to also strengthen the resource that we have in our higher education institutions. When we say that we want to make them multidisciplinary, we want to ensure that everybody is on board. So to ensure and to also make it possible that everybody is on board, along with the training, with the pedagogic skills and the other things, it's very important to ensure that we have the experts also in these areas in our educational institutions, and not somebody coming. Usually we invite people as guests, guest lectures, guest faculty. That should not be there. So we need to look at permanent positions. And I think the teacher education programs, when the NEP is talking about the education departments in the higher education institutions, especially the universities, is very important to ensure that these departments of education are strengthened with the faculties, with the infrastructure, and there are no compromises right from the beginning. We can scale up gradually. There's no point in saying that we will have maybe 1,000 or maybe 2,000, the education departments in the universities. We can start with a few and let these be the models for the rest of the country. And there are certain universities wherein the departments of education are doing exceptionally well. One such example before us is the MS University Baroda. We know that its education department has always had the best of the best brains, and they have contributed significantly. We talk about the research, I would say, studies, the abstracts which have been compiled by NCERT at different levels. Most of these works were initiated in this MS University Baroda, and they also have IASCs. Like I said, that when we talk about strengthening the teacher education program, I think it's very important to be ensuring that the takeoff is very well, and it is on a very solid, a very good foundation. NEP further emphasizes the use of technology. Now, these technological platforms, I think we all have got used to. I'm sure, on a lighter note, let's all think the first time when we have to be giving, an online lecture, maybe using a WhatsApp or different platforms, believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't know what to do. So I thought it would be better if I, kind of do a video lecture or maybe a FaceTime call. You try all those things. But I have done something very, very different when it comes to my classes at the higher education level. We also have the teacher education programs. And I would like to share that with you. I can recollect that this was actually somewhere in the month of April 2020, when we were asked by, I'm sure all of us went through the same time, were asked by our heads of the institutions to be taking online classes and ensuring that the students attend and, things like that. So what I did was, we all would have done that, but what I did was I made a WhatsApp group. And believe me, I'm not a techno-savvy person. I know a little bit, but I'm not a techno-savvy. So what I did was that I made a WhatsApp group, and on my own, I started thinking, how do I go about it? So what I did was I divided my class into two halves. There are 50 students. So one set of students is 1 to 25 and then 26 to 50. This is giving you an example. Then there are two class representatives. Now, one representative is for one group and the other one is for the other group. So what I would do is that every morning, as per the timetable, I would post a question in the WhatsApp group and give them the time of the class only. For example, if my class is on a Wednesday, 10 to 11, so 10 o'clock, the question would be posted in the WhatsApp group, asking the students to respond by 11 o'clock. And then also, there would be a note there that anybody who has any difficulty can always message or get in touch with me. We all do like that. What was interesting was initially there were some inhibitions, but within, I think, 10 days, most of the students started responding. When they started responding, what I did was I asked this class representative that every day on rotation, this is very interesting. So I would like you to, not understand, just to hear this experience of mine. So one class representative was expected to give me one roll number from a group of 1 to 25 to compile the responses of 25 students, right? And the other class representative, because representatives can do it. You see, I would find it very difficult to be doing it myself. You see, we forget and we have so many classes. So for the representative, it is only one for one teacher only. Others were not doing it. So every day I would have 2 fresh roll numbers and they would compile. Okay, 25 responses compiled by one student and 25 responses by the other student. End of the day, what I would do is browse through the responses, concentrate on the one compiled response of this particular student, give my feedback. I tell you, this has worked wonderfully well with my students. Those students who were not responding, who were not attentive, who were not participating, because there is somehow some kind of an inhibition that we will not go, face to face online. So they are comfortable in writing. And I don't understand, why do we insist that we have to have a face to face class only? What is the rule? What is the logic behind that? I don't understand. The whole idea is to ensure that you are in a position to deliver. You are in a position to reach out to your students. And end of the day, the students have something ready with them in terms of the content. Now, after finishing one unit, what I would do is I would post whatever material after doing that. Because had I done it in the beginning, students would look into that material and they would not exercise, their own, they would not make that effort to be looking into different search engines and looking for the content. And I gave them this idea that you can, go through the newspapers, different websites, discussions. And I even told them, discuss with your parents, with your grandparents, with your relatives. So I would get very good response. That encouraged me quite a lot. And I think that has been very, very fruitful, very, very helpful. And I have no problem, believe me, of absenteeism. Now, the attendance marking is done in that 1 hour. So 10 to 11 o'clock, I would post that so-and-so will compile the responses. After that, whoever would send the answer, initially we were slightly lenient. I was slightly lenient, but then they knew that after this, they will not be considered present. So they would ensure that they respond within that time, because then after 11 is the next class. So why take it on to the next class? So this is what I wanted to share with you. and this is what has been said in NEP also, that we have to make students, and the teachers techno-friendly, techno-savvy. And this is more of, the possibilities because of SWAYAM and the Diksha platforms for online training of teachers, which needs to be encouraged. That is, I think, why we in the choice-based credit system, there is a lot of emphasis on taking these online courses at all levels, whether it is the undergraduate or the postgraduate, and now even in the teacher education programs. So that
Professor
is
Renu, there are questions also coming.
Yeah. How much
Yeah.
time do I have?
I think we can take QA after a few minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
10 minutes?
actually, there were some questions that was connected to your comment. So, okay, we can take it later on. You please continue. Yeah.
I'll wind it up so that it will be more interesting to be taking the questions.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. So these platforms to be encouraged so that the standardized training programs can be administered to large numbers of teachers within a short span of time. That's the whole idea. And then the national mission for mentoring shall be established with a large pool of outstanding senior retired faculty, including those with the ability to teach in Indian languages, who would be willing to provide short and long-term mentoring or the professional support to the university and the college teachers. I have always believed that we need to create this pool. Ever since I became the head of my own department, I think, I don't know about the others, but I took this initiative of inviting all the retired professors to the department at least once in 6 months on one or the other pretext, take their inputs, ensure that it is implemented. Most of us must be doing it, but maybe we are not sharing. So that is what NEP has, tried to emphasize. I think what is very important here also is that we need to request to the policymakers, the planners, the architects of the teacher education to implement everything in letter and spirit in order to bring the fruitful outcomes in the sector of teacher education. Policies can be successful only because of good implementation. The drafts alone will not be something which would suffice or which would give happiness to any one of us. I think I will try to wind up with one quote of Albert Einstein, and I quote, and I really like this one. I quote, "I never teach my pupils. I only provide the conditions in which they can learn," and I unquote. I get so fascinated because this is something which I have been repeatedly trying. Believe me, if you provide the platform, if you create that for your students, I think you get a lot of satisfaction. Now, I do not know whether most of you got bored or you got some content, but here I'm ready to take the questions, the comments, and the suggestions. Yeah, they are welcome.
Yeah, Professor Renu, wonderful. We are already having questions and comments also coming. Great session. One of the participants has written, you very nicely, because when you were speaking, the passion that you have for education and the passion that you've been working so deeply in this field, and I know you've been working in areas where dreaming of a school going children is a far-sighted dream. So you've been working on those area. You've been the quote that you said in the end, I think that is what you actually try to follow in your real life. So before there are two questions, but I also have 2-3 pointers, since I'll just state the first question. This is by one of our participants, Dr. Gopal Kumar. I'll just read out as he has written. मैडम ने टीचर एजुकेशन से संबंधित कई समस्याओं को सामने रखा और उनके समाधान भी प्रस्तुत करने का प्रयास किया। मैडम जी से मेरी जिज्ञासा है कि क्या विज्ञान विषयों एवं मानविकी विषयों के शिक्षकों के लिए ट्रेनिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स अलग-अलग होने चाहिए और क्या उनके लिए अलग-अलग प्रकार के ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स होने चाहिए? This is what Gopal ji is asking.
ओके गोपाल जी, आपके प्रश्न के लिए धन्यवाद। मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि वो अलग नहीं होने चाहिए, क्योंकि जब हम मल्टी डिसिप्लिनैरिटी की बात करते हैं और हम कहते हैं कि सभी को संग में रहना है, संग में रहने से, एक साथ में रहने से हम ज्यादा सीख सकते हैं, हम ज्यादा जान सकते हैं। और विज्ञान है, साइकोलॉजी है या कोई भी डिपार्टमेंट है, आई बिलीव दैट देयर इज a deep connect in these disciplines. That is why we talk about transdisciplinarity, we talk about interdisciplinarity. वो फिर कभी संभव ही नहीं होगा. आप करके देखिए, आपको बहुत आनंद आएगा. जैसे मैं हमेशा एक उदाहरण देती हूँ कि अगर हम थोड़ा सा रिसर्च करें तो हमें ये पता चलेगा that there is a very strong relationship between geography and mathematics. कभी भी सोचिएगा, आपको लगेगा बहुत आनंद आएगा इसमें. तो क्योंकि समय कम है तो
yeah, I'll just
मुझे लग रहा है
there are some good there are comments coming, Professor Renu. Dr. Sudhashi says great session. Dr. Rita Maurya is saying very informative session. Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Meenu Teotia is saying thank you so much, ma'am. You energized us with your energetic words. Great. There's Sunita Chand. She's saying the whole talk was so captivating. Commendable speech, ma'am. Thank you for such a collaborative talk. I think, yeah, this is the word collaborative. We need to, work on this kind of thought. Now, I'll just go to the next question. Dr. Bijender Singh ji hai, inhone question kiya hai. I'll just read out. It is really insightful lecture, but my question is that you praise ancient education system as the best. Kindly throw light on the status of education with regard to women and other marginalized sections.
1 minute, I'm just shifting to the laptop. Just a minute.
Okay. I think there's an echo. Ma'am is shifting to her laptop, Amit. Yeah, can I read out the question, Professor Renu? Your audio is off. Can you switch on your audio, please? Renu ji, आप अपना audio on कीजिए. I can see you. Is there an issue?
Just a minute, ma'am. I'll make her co-host.
Okay, yeah.
She's from different. Okay, yeah. Just a minute. Yeah, it is done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Ma'am, you can now do it.
That's our great technical team, Dr. Ravinder Pant.
Yeah.
So we all rely on him. That's a Man Friday.
That is what collaboration is all about.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Professor Renu, the next question, as I was saying, it's rightly, just a minute, I think I just missed. Yeah, Dr. Bijender ji ne pucha hai ki it's really insightful lecture, but my question is that you praise ancient education system as the best. Kindly throw light on the status of education with regard to women and other marginalized sections. If it was not accessible now to all, how can you say it was the best? I think his concern.
If it was not?
If it was not accessible or allowed to all,
yeah,
how can you say it was the best?
Yeah, see, like when I was talking about the ancient system of education, I think I was very, very specific. I said the pre-Vedic, Vedic, the post-Vedic times, the Brahmanic times, the period of Jainism, Buddhism. Why I've said that? Because there were sermons. I think we have evidences, we have documented history of education, which does say that women would participate in the education process. But yes, it was in the medieval period that education did suffer a setback. The marginalized communities would not participate. But then you see, after that, when I'm talking about the ancient Indian history, it's there that we had these Nalanda, Takshila. We've had scholars coming from, abroad and studying here. And that system of education was a complete blend. Also, when you and me were in the schools, I don't know, you're younger to me, but maybe, whatever. So I talk about myself. So when I was in school, I can very clearly remember that we had, I think all values got inculcated when I was in school, wherein we were asked to, forget the prayer part of it. How is it that you greet? What is it that you study? How do you study? Despite the fact that I went to a convent school when I did my schooling, and then I went to a government school for my class 11 and 12. Now that time, and then we move on from that time to subsequently later times. There has been a disconnect. What was this later time was, I would say, after the first national education policy,
till the time, say till about 3, 4, 5 years back, when technology seeped in and we started, kind of having access to the resources outside. Prior to that, what was happening, only very few limited people had access. Now, when I was studying in the university, I remember I had opted for educational technology, and my professor of educational technology said, "You can't do this, madam." I said, "If I can't do this, why am I taking this subject?" What he meant to say was that you study the theory part of it and forget the practical part of it. So I think ancient Indian times, it was not like that. When we read the Buddhist history, when we read about the Jains, the pre-Vedic times, we have evidences wherein women were always participating in discourses at various levels. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Very nicely put. I think Gargi, Maitri, and even, I'm not an ancient historian, but we do have references like the mathematical treatise Lilavati was inspired from his daughter. So but the gender scene is not so very welcoming now also, but it's great that we are intervening, making a dent and trying to bring about that change.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting question, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. There's Dr. Sanjay Mazumdar. He says very good session. Sunita, okay. I'll just go to the next. There's this comment. मैं साथ ही साथ आपको comment भी पढ़ रही हूँ. Dr. Ekta Anand, she says very informative session, very well explained. Shanti Bhushan ji हैं, ये पूछ रहे हैं, as far as classroom teaching is concerned, I think our country is lagging far behind in research on educational aids and props compared to Europe and America. What needs to be done, ma'am? I think this is a very important question.
Yeah, very important. Yeah, we are far behind when it comes to teaching aids. We do nothing of it, nothing in this particular direction. And believe me, in all the teacher education programs, we have this component of internship which talks about there is a particular terminology, low cost and no cost teaching aids. Okay. I was, literally fed up of this word because there was nothing called as low cost and no cost.
Mm-hmm.
The pupil teachers spend a lot of money. So they get a very nice teaching aid done in the market. They're not actually, what will they learn from that? So the difference here is we need to understand, it is the teachers who had asked this question, Mubin?
This question is from Shanti Bhushan ji.
Shanti Bhushan ji,
आप हैं क्या आप अपना कैमरा ऑन कर सकते हैं? Can we see you? I don't think so. Professor Renu, you could please continue.
Yeah, Shanti Bhushan ji, मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहती हूँ, what is to be done is please take an initiative. Believe me, I take most of the initiatives in my class. The first day when I took my class in the Department of Education, with the MEd students, the head of the department came in the class, and you know what he said? Renu, ये school नहीं है, ये university के बच्चे हैं, इनको अलग से पढ़ाना. And I didn't say anything to him at that point of time. I went after that. After he left, so I told the students, मैं तो हर दिन lesson plan करूंगी, higher education में भी, और उसी हिसाब से पढ़ाऊंगी. और तुमको teaching aids जैसा मैं बताऊंगी वैसे मैं बताऊंगी का मतलब not that I will make, but we will create teaching aids. I tell you, इतना मजा आता है रूरल एरियाज में जाकर के टीचिंग एड्स को बनाने का, बिकॉज हमारे यहाँ इन्वायरमेंट इतना आई वुड से आर्टिफिशियल है और हम इतनी ज्यादा नकली चीजों को यूज करते हैं. कश्मीर में बच्चों को मैंने देखा, वो जो TLM मिलता है ना, टीचिंग लर्निंग मटेरियल का 500-500 रुपया, आधे से ज्यादा बच्चों ने प्लास्टिक के सेब और नाशपाती खरीदे हुए हैं. बच्चों ने नहीं, मतलब टीचर्स ने. अरे मैंने कहा पेड़ पे आज जाओ, सेब तोड़ो और खाओ. तो मतलब ये तो कहीं और होना चाहिए. It's a complete mismatch. Complete.
Yeah.
There is
Right,
no research.
right.
People are not interested. So please do something. All of you can do it.
I think you can see Shanti Bhushan ji. He's there.
हाँ, Shanti Bhushan ji. Yeah. Now I can see. Yeah. Shanti Bhushan ji. और इसके साथ मैं ये भी कहूंगी, जैसा महात्मा गांधी ने कहा, each one of us must be the change that we wish to see around. हम क्यों किसी की इंतजार करेंगे? मैं और आप शुरू करते हैं, and we'll do it.
I really know this, Professor Renu, about you, that you do follow the Gandhian principle and your work is
Yes.
based on the Gandhian principle. I think I forgot to mention that in your bio. So that's quite, it's quite reflected in your thoughts and the work that you're doing. So going ahead, after Shanti Bhushan ji, we have some comments. I'll read and then I'll go to the next question. Chaya Rani ji ये कह रही हैं, बहुत ही ज्ञानवर्धक व उत्तम व्याख्यान था मैम. Bhuvnesh Sharma ji हैं, ये कहते हैं, it was really a great session. Ma'am has thrown light almost upon each aspect. We have Dr. Shubha Dwivedi. She has a question. I'll just read out the question, Professor Renu. She writes, digital platform has enhanced the sphere of education. However, there is an emerging need to educate students about the appropriate and mindful use of new media tools, which are also employed in online teaching. How can we incorporate responsible conversation about digital platforms into the academic system? Yeah, I'm really kind of liking this question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Dr. Shubha, can you switch on your camera? I think she's one of our faculty.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
please
think,
go ahead.
yeah.
Professor Renu, yeah.
Yeah. You see, we sometimes I also wonder what are the checks, what are the balances, how are we going to ensure what is actually happening at the other end. So I think as teachers, we have to be the right role models. When I talk to my students, whenever I'll tell you, I have this interactive like what we are having now, the virtual face-to-face. I mean, this is not face-to-face, but this is a video kind of a thing. I do not have this kind of conversation. I said I just have a WhatsApp class. I encourage that. But once in 15 days, I interact like this. When I interact with them like this, it's more on a personal note. You know, how are you? How is everybody in the family? What are you doing? What are the difficulties? What are the problems? And there the students, believe me, reveal everything to me. And to the extent that they say, कि हमने ना मैम वो वाला चैनल देखा, हमने ये देखा, वो गलत था, वो सही था, हमें ऐसा करना था. I don't ask them anything. And same happens in my Sunday class also. I wish any one of you would be interested to be maybe once, joining my Sunday class to see what we do with children. And there they say, the children say, कि हमारे parents बोलते हैं कि सर मत खाओ, तंग मत करो, मोबाइल देके दिया है, उसमें बैठो. This is the rural children. These are not the children in the suburbs. Now, when it comes to higher education, the problem in higher education is certain problems are there. I don't know whether they are there in your regions. Like we have typical topography in Sinthan Top, which is the higher reach, Padar area, inaccessible. There is no way by which the students can connect. They have to walk 4 to 5 miles just to participate. WhatsApp is not a possibility. So now we've motivated them to come to, places which are closer to where they could have these kind of connections. So I think the only way by which you can check is to set the right role model. Students will definitely follow you, provided you have that zeal and enthusiasm and they can read through what you are trying to convey them. हम लोग actually बड़ा plain sound से बोल देते हैं, कर लेना, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. So I think all of us have to take the initiative ourselves. There is no prescription as to कैसे करें, कैसे ना करें. We go on experimenting, and the experience itself teaches us so much that we, I think, graduate, we grow, and then we learn much more. That's what I would say.
How nicely put, Professor Renu. इसी से related एक comment है जो आपने कहा कि we have to be a role model. Yesterday we had Professor Ujjwal Kumar Singh from the Department of Political Science. He was talking about that how we learn every year with a new batch. The students are our juror basically, so we learn a lot from our students also.
Yeah.
So on that note, there's another question from Manohar Lalji. He's asking what difference and similarity between good teacher and good people.
Good teacher and good people?
Good people. He's asking difference as well as similarity, both.
Good people?
Between good teacher and good people. मेरा ख्याल है वो ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि अच्छे टीचर और अच्छे इंसान में क्या समानताएं हैं या क्या।
नहीं, टीचर तो समझ आया, दूसरा वर्ड नहीं समझ आ रहा, क्या बोल रहे हो?
गुड पीपल, पीपल।
पीपल, अच्छा 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 अच्छा, व्हाट आर द सिमिलैरिटीज एंड व्हाट आर द डिफरेंसेस?
हाँ,
मैं तो आपसे ये कहूंगी कि ये आपके अपने हाथ में है कि आप अच्छा टीचर बनना चाहते हैं, आप कैसा टीचर बनना चाहते हैं, दिस इज कंप्लीटली इन योर हैंड।
या
जो हम
एब्सोल्युटली।
हमारी ट्रेनिंग जो होती है वो सबके लिए सेम होती है। उसमें से कोई लोग जो है वो उस ट्रेनिंग को इम्प्लीमेंट करते हैं, मेरे जैसे जो लोग हैं, मैं कहती हूँ कि हर स्कूल की दीवार पे लिखा रहता है ऑनेस्टी इज द बेस्ट पॉलिसी, आई एम गिविंग एग्जांपल्स, और हार्ड वर्क इज द की टू सक्सेस, और लाइक दैट मेनी मोर थिंग्स, यूनियन इज स्ट्रेंथ। ना द प्रॉब्लम इज वो लिखा ही रहता है, वो लिखा ही रहता है। So to be good teacher, to be good people is to ensure that you read and reread and reread and ensure that your students follow suit. So there are a lot of similarities. अब आप कहेंगे difference यही है कि मैंने देखा और मुझे लगा कि ये तो स्कूल की दीवार पे लिखने लायक है, इसमें कुछ है तो नहीं है, तो चलो हम चले जाएंगे। So ये इसका जो मैं कहूंगी कि एनालिसिस है, it should be self analysis. हमें खुद पता होना चाहिए कि हम सही मार्ग पे चल रहे हैं या नहीं चल रहे, कोई हमें क्यों आकर के बताएगा। एंड दैट कैन बी पॉसिबल, you see, after a lecture, after a talk, conversation with your own children also, with your own siblings also, you know whether you have satisfied them, are you happy, are you contented, या फिर आपने कुछ फसाद खड़ा कर दिया है। So therefore I think you yourself are the best judge to be in a position to underline the difference, I mean the similarity and the differences between, you know, either the teacher or the people.
Thank you, Professor Renu. Again, I'll just go through some comments, and then I have one question. I think if maybe you could take that question of mine. This is Dr. Shubha Dwivedi. She's conveying her thanks. She writes, "Thank you, Dr. Renu, for your informative lecture as well as classroom experiences." Yes, I think I should add to this because, you know, we kind of at university level, we kind of, you know, do not give so much importance to such experiences and such connects and such kind of acquaintance in a classroom teaching. You very beautifully mentioned, and you very beautifully put those classroom experience, which will definitely which has definitely made us think on certain points. Then there is this Nivrutti Gyanvardhak Vyakhyan. Yogita Yadav कह रही हैं, very informative session, ma'am. Yeah, there is one question coming, so I'll just take that. This is by Dr. Mamta Bagria. She's asking, informative session for normal students. Can you focus? Yeah, this is nice. Can you focus some light on education of special kids, or can you tell whom to reach for such people's education? Because India is lacking proper guidance for such students. This is a question. Yeah, maybe you could just throw light in relation to NEP and special.
Yeah, you see, special education. Exactly.
Yeah,
you see, yeah. You see, the thing is, when you talk about the special education or special children, I am doing a research project, which maybe sometimes later we can talk in detail, but just to, you know, kind of give answer to your question. Now, this research project that I am doing, I am not a medical practitioner. I'm just a teacher like any one of you. Is in a village. The name of the village is Dadkai. Please Google and see. You will get my name and the name of all my team members. Dadkai is a village in district Doda, highly militancy inflicted area. And this is in Gando Tehsil, Balesa block. And you know the problem? It has more than 60% deaf mutes. Every single household has a minimum of 3 to 4 people.
Professor,
from the range.
Spell that word, the village spelling. Can you just spell?
D-A-D.
D-A-D?
K-H-A-I.
Okay. Yes, please.
Dadkai. I will text you also.
Yeah. Yes.
So Dadkai village, every single household has these deaf mutes, from a newly born to a 99-year-old. Okay. Now, what happened was that Indian Army approached me. I'm just, you know, kind of very, very brief. Indian Army approached me. I had created a team of doctors, which includes a neurophysician. It included a gynecologist, a pediatrician, a general surgeon, epidemiologist, and some technical people. So we went there and we continued to go. And the story ends here that all of us, we took the samples, the blood samples. It's a genetic disorder. Okay. There is a school in this village, but this is a primary school. This village has not been visited by any government officer ever since India got independence. Because there is no road access. You have to trek up. I trekked up with Indian Army and with this team of doctors. It was very dicey, very narrow path, passage, and deep gorge, you know. So you had to be very carefully. We still went. And the story ends by saying that we filed a project, research project with Indian Council for Medical Research. Please see that I am the only non-medical person in that group who has been given the task of rehabilitation of these deaf mutes. How do you do it? We've been able to do that with the help of Indian Army. And that can be a totally different kind of a lecture कि उसमें हमने कितना कुछ किया और बहुत कुछ हो गया है. And it gives me immense happiness to share that past 2.5 years, 3 years now, not a single deaf mute is born in that village. That should
Wow.
give you the answer to the question.
Wow. Amazing.
If where there is a will, there is a way.
Definitely. Definitely. I know, Dr. Professor Renu, you're doing great work with our army also in the interiors. And this was one example that you gave. And
Yes.
I think we need that kind of passion and that kind of approach, which I always get from you, the positive and passionate approach towards education that you have. I think I'll just take one last question. This is by Vijita Ghosh. See, there is so much to do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Vijita Ghosh, she says, ma'am, I feel length of the syllabus is a major obstacle in the teaching process, particularly when a teacher is trying to use her own innovative way. I mean, the teacher is sometimes in the pressure of completing the syllabus, which may hinder the innovative approach of the teacher. What can be done in this regard? Yes, I think we all face this. You know, at times we want to,
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. If I was in your place, I would not want to complete the syllabus. What is very important is to make the students create situations by which they learn themselves. It's very important. We are focusing all the time on the syllabus completion, definitions, importance, need, branches, functions, theories, whatnot. But now these theories can be challenged. I am a member with Forum on Contemporary Theory. And believe me, we've been challenging the trial and error theory, the operant conditioning theory of learning. That does not work now. So why are we still teaching these redundant things? Madam Ghosh, I would say that please be creative and innovative. If you have created, you know, that zeal in the children, that passion, that junoon in your students to be looking for genuine and true knowledge, they will be knowledge seekers. They will do it themselves anyway. You have to just ensure that you have enough of time to, bring them on board in your discussions. I do that. I discuss. You know what I do at times? Suppose I have to teach a topic on mental health, right? So what I will write is, I will write the first line, mental health is bas itna hi, and then ask each one of the students to come and write on the boards. I tell you, the glow on their faces, the expressions, even the ones who say, I cannot write, I'll tell them, you cannot sit in the class. This is PG course class. If you want to sit, you have to. So they write. We don't laugh even if it is wrong English, because this is not English class. It's a class wherein we are looking at the content part of it. So do not worry about the length of the syllabus. What good is this length when I have said that in class 4, 5, children do not know simple things like numbers, ABCD, Kakaga, Alaf Be, and here we have expecting them write essay ligoji, multiplication karo, division karo. There's no point. You have to only take care of initiating that ignition in every child. गाड़ी start हो गई ना मैडम, फिर रुकेगी नहीं. फिर हम धक्का भी लगाएंगे, सब कुछ करेंगे, और तब तक लगाएंगे जब तक हम किसी मंजिल पे पहुंच ना जाएं।
How
मुश्किलें सभी
beautiful.
को आती हैं, सभी को मुश्किलें आती हैं, लेकिन उन मुश्किलों का trying to find a solution. I think let us not look at the problem part of the problem, which will be there for all times to come. Let us try and look at the solution part of the problem and focus more on the solution, which is there in each one of us. तो आज आप सब अच्छे से हंस के मुस्कुरा करके अपने आप को दोबारा आईने में देख के that you have the potential and you can do it. So on that note, I think I am very happy to be in this session.
Yes, Professor Renu, that was a beautiful thought that you leave us all with. And yeah, there are a lot of comments coming. Very informative lecture, and our participants are appreciating the efforts that you're doing. Kudos to you, ma'am. Really inspiring.
you.
I think that is
Thank
what
you.
is very important, that we as educators and teachers, and that is the reason why this program was formulated in such a way. Our principal, Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, he always wants all the nuances and everything that is a part of the education system to be included. And I'm sure when you went through our topic and the themes, you must have observed that how we have tried to incorporate all the necessities and all the nuances that are required for a quintessential teacher and educator. Before I end and I convey my vote of thanks, मैं एक छोटा सा शेर अर्ज करूंगी, हाँ, लेकिन उसका थोड़ा सा मतलब मुझे बताना पड़ेगा कि कोहकान होता है जो पहाड़ काटने वाला होता है, पहाड़ काटता है। शीरी ने फरहाद ने शीरी के लिए पहाड़ काटा था इश्क में, मोहब्बत में। सो कोहकान इज द पर्सन हु कट्स द माउंटेन। देखा ना कोहकन कोई फरहाद के बगैर, देखा न कोहकन कोई फरहाद के बगैर, आता नहीं है फन कोई उस्ताद के बगैर, आता नहीं है फन कोई उस्ताद के बगैर। ऑन दैट नोट, या कि हम टीचर्स जो हैं उनका कितना इम्पोर्टेंस है, हाउ इम्पोर्टेंट इट इज कि जिस तरह पहाड़ को काटते हैं उस तरह से हमें अपना रास्ता बनाना है। एंड यू वेरी ब्यूटिफुली पुट वेरियस एग्जांपल्स फ्रॉम योर पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंस and from and one thing I should say, what I really liked is that you also put forth certain things that can be incorporated and that should be incorporated changes. So we should not withhold ourselves from incorporating any changes. So that was a very positive approach. And now on behalf of my principal, Professor Gyantosh Kumar Jha, my IQAC convener, Dr. Vinita Tuli, and my entire team, my technical team, and my entire refresher committee, and also on behalf of our we are also coordinating with TLC Ramanujan, and on behalf of the entire ARSD college team, refresher committee, I would like to convey my vote of thanks to you that you came all the way long from Jammu and you delivered such a beautiful lecture, and we were really happy and honored to have you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And we wish to have you again more, because I know there are certain issues that we would love to have you to share with us, which will help us as teachers and educators. Thank you, ma'am. Professor Renu, thank you so much for being here. Thank you.